Leeds United's Premier League misery has been replaced with that fresh feeling we all knew amongst the promoted Premier League team. Optimism, excitement, anticipation. Daniel Farke and Leeds United have been massively overlooked this summer. But yesterday was a performance to be proud of. So tactically, let's have a look at how they managed to defeat David Moyes' Everton. Now, as I just mentioned, Daniel Farke and Leeds United have been massively overlooked over the summer amongst the newly promoted teams, and even by myself. The recruitment has surrounded physicality and athleticism within the team, which is two very important components within the Premier League. But when we have a look at the game, Everton were a little bit weaker on their feet, with James Garner at left back and Michael Keane at centre back, whilst Leeds United had their expecting starting 11 out. The game overall was a very interesting one. The first half was fantastic, especially from a Leeds United perspective. Everton could not get out of their first half. Leeds United were suffocating within the press and then highly possessionally dominant, playing like they were playing a championship team because Everton were quite poor. But Everton grew some control within the second half, I'll give them that, but they still failed to impress. And of course, Leeds got a little bit lucky at the end with the penalty, but as a newly promoted team, they needed a bit of luck. And it's not like they didn't deserve it. They were the far superior team. If we have a look at Leeds United and their lineup, if we have a look at the players individually, then there is really a lot to like here. The physicality has clearly been a target this summer within the recruitment, and it's paid off because this midfield three was absolutely outstanding last night. The midfield battle was always going to be key, as I tweeted before the game. It was always going to be interesting with Garner Gay, KDH, James Garner, and the Leeds United assets. But when we have a look at Leeds United on the ball, then this is where stuff gets very interesting. Now, I've just added Everton, they're in white and blue for some reason, but there was so much to like with Leeds United on the ball. Now, this isn't anything different for Leeds United fans. They saw this last season, and although Daniel Farke's going to have to adapt this season, he didn't have to adapt that much in this game. Tactically, it was the execution of their performance, how unbelievably sharp they were, that really secured the 3 points. But if we have a look at the team just now, it's a bit of a 3-1-6 like shape, with the 3 here, the 1 here with Ampadu, and then the rest sort of within the attack. But the impressive thing for me was that a midfielder was dropping into the back line every single time. It was either Tanaka or it was Ampadu or it was Stach as well here. And the most impressive thing about all of this is that these 5 players are probably the key 5 players. Let's take Everton out of the equation for a second. It's these 5 just here. They're all so capable of filling in each other's positions. They're also capable of covering for each other. And they're also capable and fantastic on the ball, under pressure, and then just with the ball without being pressed. They were all magnificent, and the numerical advantage this created was really quite noticeable. Everton are in a 4-4-2 shape. It's a very simple structure, and they had 2 within the press just here. None of the others really pushed up. Why didn't they push up? Well, it's because of the fullbacks for Leeds United. Goodmanson was pushing right up, and because Goodmanson was pushing right up, a midfielder dropped in here just to cover for him. But this meant this Everton winger was pushed back. Bogle was also moving into these spaces, which meant Alcaraz was pushed back. So this just meant there was 2 versus Leeds United's 4. And this meant Leeds United progressed the ball so incredibly naturally, easy, and fluently. The rotations, it was very hard for Everton to track, and it was very fluid, very impressive stuff from Leeds United. Technically, it was a good watch. So Tanaka dropping into the back line quite a lot to facilitate Goodmanson moving forward. So as Everton were pinned back, they couldn't really do anything. As I said, it just meant very easy ball progression. And one of the best things about that use of the fullbacks was Goodmanson was high and wide. That was very clear from the off. But Bogle was very interesting within his movements. He made a lot of inside runs within the half spaces, within these little areas here, and he was so effective at them. And This created a lot of problems for Everton because it meant that Alcaraz was following him, he was pinning him in. So whenever Ampadu was on the ball in and around here, it created a very easy pass to Daniel James, as you can see on the screen just now. It was a very easy ball straight over to Daniel James, 1v1 isolated with James Garner out of position. And this was very interesting because it just created the space very easy, and it's a very small tactical detail, but it was one that was very effective. It allowed for Leeds to really progress the ball and funnel the ball forwards. But something about that wide progression that I want to talk about is that usually Everton are fantastic within the wide press. Their 4-4-2 actually aims to be proactive in wide spaces, to stand off, and then as soon as the ball comes out here, that's when bang, they'd come right into the framework. But Leeds completely nullified this. Everton weren't as sharp as they usually were, but Leeds were so fantastic within progressing the ball out wide. The 4-3-3 shape allows you to stretch the pitch in a very possession-y dominant manner. If you want to dominate a team, 4-3-3 is probably the best way of doing it, in order to get the midfielder out wide, centrally, and then the wingers, fullbacks, essentially just to utilise the very best out of the positions. So whenever Goodmanson had the ball over here and he was 2v1s, you had Nonto as well. You had Stach who could move over. So this created 3v2s a lot. And this was very easy for Leeds just to progress the ball out wide. There was an instance within the second half with Jack Harrison and Goodmanson, and I think it was a 2v1 instead of a 3v2. But it perfectly illustrated how Leeds United used wide overloads, wide triangles in attempts to progress the ball and enter the final third. So despite Everton being really poor, completely and utterly nullified and limited, Leeds United did a fair bit of the heavy work. They were fantastic. And some of the heavy work that was produced within this was within the attacking third. It was particularly set pieces. If it wasn't for Jake O'Brien within that first half, Everton could have been 2 or 3 down. They were terrible. But Leeds United were fantastic, quick off the blocks. They had 5 corners within 13 minutes, and they caused chaos off every single one pretty much. It was really difficult for Everton to contain. I mean, the atmosphere, the aggressive style of play, Everton were shocked and they couldn't do anything about it. Leeds United in the end just lacked that final third quality, and it was pretty clear. They had 21 shots but only 3 on target, a fair amount of XG, but 11 block shots as well, which suggests to you that Leeds United were doing everything right until the final third. But overall, Leeds United, a much more superior team when you have a look at those stats. They ran more shots, more possession, more big chances, more final third entries, passes, interceptions. Overall, they were just so much better. And a lot of that work came off the ball. If we have a look at Leeds United off the ball, it was in a very aggressive style of play. It wasn't crazy, you know, they would press high within this phase just over here, and whenever it did come to this sort of middle third space, that is exactly when they would stand off and they would sit within this 4-1-4-1 shape. It was a high, suffocating, ferocious, fiery press, and it wasn't only when Everton were trying to play out from the back, it was also when Everton got the ball back. The second that they got the ball, quite a lot of the time, is when Everton are most dangerous, and that's exactly when Leeds United stepped up and said no. Everton couldn't keep the ball at all. The ball retention was non-existent. KDH had a moment where he only just got the ball and Ampadu stepped right in and clamped him. It was that aggressive. It eliminated any ball retention for Beto, KDH, Inzai, Alcaraz, for absolutely anybody, and trapped Everton not only out wide but just within their half. They couldn't move, and 26 minutes in, Everton stopped playing out from the back. They realised that Leeds United were simply just too good for their blood, and instead they started to go long. But Everton couldn't find gaps here. You often seen James Tarkowski just lumping balls forward, and they kept losing it every single time. Whenever the ball was out wide for Jake O'Brien, it was very difficult for them to actually create anything, and every time that they did try and move forward with the ball, they'd be met with a Leeds duel, a Leeds tackle, which would lead to a turnover where Leeds United would then be bombing forward. It was a fantastic overall execution from Daniel Farke. It wasn't too different from what they did last season, but the execution of it and the quality of it, with the new signings, with the players, it was brilliant. It was great. Ampadu absolutely ran the show. Stach was absolutely fantastic, just like he is at Hoffenheim. Goodmanson, brilliant. Gnonto, very promising. I thought everybody was fantastic. The movement of Gnonto within the half spaces caused Everton a lot of trouble. The movement of Bogle, as we've already analysed, caused a lot of trouble. And I think Leeds United could be a huge threat this season. As I've mentioned, they have been overlooked compared to Sunderland to a slight. I think Sunderland are everybody's favourites. But when you look at Leeds United statistically last season, they were probably one of the best teams to ever win the division. So, in theory, they should be staying up. But let me know in the comments below if you think Leeds United will stay within the Premier League this season. Thank you for watching today's video. If you did enjoy, smash a like and subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you guys in the next one.